there's clean beauty products, there's plant-based milks, there's organic baby wipes, anything that you need, there's a clean alternative for it. But if you need something for your intimate health, you were stuck with these larger conventional brands that were using petroleum-based plastic that could be found with pesticides and all kinds of things that you don't want to put in the most absorbent area of your body.
Before we get into today's episode, I want to give a shout out to a special sponsor, Sam Lawrence Recruitment. We all know that finding the right people or the right job can feel really overwhelming, and that's exactly where Sam comes in. He really just gets it. It's not just about ticking boxes, it's about connecting the right people with the right opportunities. He takes the time to understand you and exactly what you're looking for, whether you're building a team or taking that next career leap. So definitely get in touch. Trust me, you'll be glad you did. At Getting to Grow, I believe that growth starts with connection. And that's where our sponsor, We Are All Marketing, comes in. I'm super excited to be partnering with Vic and the team over at We Are All Marketing. They're not just a marketing agency, they're storytellers, strategists, and your biggest advocates. Whether you're building a brand, launching a product, or strengthening your digital presence, We Are All Marketing helps you turn ideas into impact. With a personalised, results-driven approach, they ensure your vision reaches the right audience in the right way. Ready to grow your business? Visit weareallmarketing.com and see how they can help you thrive. Getting to Grow is also brought to you by the Coconut Collab. And full disclosure, as I'm sure most of you are aware, I work there, so I know how much love goes into everything that we make. We're all about creating delicious, dairy-free, plant-based treats that do not compromise on taste. From our creamy yogurts to our indulgent desserts, everything's made with coconuts and a whole lot of care. If you're looking for something naturally good but seriously tasty, and my favourite is just our natural coconut yogurt, I have it most mornings with granola and lots of honey. Trust me, you're going to absolutely love it. On this week's episode of Getting to Grow, we have the amazing Susan Allen, who is the founder of Here We Flow, and the first period brand I've had on the pod. So super excited to get into it and learn and hear all about you. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, what can I say? Okay, so I'm Susan Allen. I'm co-founder and chief brand officer for Here We Flow. So I oversee all things marketing, brand, culture for the business, and then share all the co-foundery things coming in with the mad ideas and all of that. And shall I give you the 2-minute brand story?
Absolutely, I want to hear it all.
So as you can hear, I am American, but technically the British American founder because my family is from Montserrat in the Caribbean, so I do have a British passport. And
oh my gosh, yeah, of course. I learned about that volcano at geography A level.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that's my link to it.
Just popped off in 98.
Yeah.
And really shook things up. And so the story goes that I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts in the States, and have always worked in sort of the nonprofit social justice space, but was curious about business, so applied to the Global Masters in Management program at the London School of Economics. On the other side of the U.S. in California, my future co-founder, love of my life, platonic soulmate, Tara Chandra, was growing up in what is now Silicon Valley, so in the Bay Area, Mountain View. Proper, hipster, hippie. When I met her, half her head was shaved, practically invented kombucha is what I tease her about. And she was working in the music industry and had deals in Germany and in Japan, but was feeling really like most of her career was being controlled by men, and she wanted to learn more about business and sort of be empowered. So the two of us met in class the first day. We sat next to each other, Alan Chandra, fell in instant best friend love. We're going to the Louvre together between classes, and I'm like, forget the PayPal mafia, let's start the feminist mafia, let's start a business together. And she's like, yes, absolutely, let's do that. What is our moneymaker going to be? I'm having such a hard time finding organic tampons. Because at the time, you could only find them in a Planet Organic or another small health food store. And when she was living in LA, there's a Whole Foods on every block, so you always had access to them. And we were having this chat, and we're like, there's clean beauty products, there's plant-based milks, there's organic baby wipes, anything that you need, there's a clean alternative for it. But if you need something for your intimate health, you were stuck with these larger conventional brands that were using petroleum-based plastic products that could be found with pesticides and all kinds of things that you don't want to put in the most absorbent area of your body. And so, because we were in business school, we're like, right, sustainable, affordable, accessible, adorable. And the sustainability piece is really around, the average user uses 11,000 of these products in their lifetime.
Wow.
And they're made, conventional products are sort of like 95 to 100% petroleum plastic that's going into landfill, and it will be here for as long as we are and beyond. So if we could just create a sustainable swap for people to use, it would have such an outsized impact on the environment and on our health, because it's made from healthier products. And then from a brand side, so you can see the tampons come in an ice cream tub.
I noticed that. I love it that they come in an ice cream tub. That's so cool.
We just wanted to bring some light. We say that our brand voice is funny, feminist, and fierce. It's really sort of trying to get rid of the shame and stigma that surround us. So these are the period products, but we also have sensitive bladder and sexual wellness products as well. And all these areas carry such a heavy stigma with them. So we just use humor to sort of break the ice and have the conversation. The products look interesting. When you read the copy, it says, "Hello, gorgeous."
Yeah, I really love that.
It's such a better sort of like user experience.
Yeah.
And then people can like talk about it with their friends, but it's really starting to like break that and drive conversation and drive change. So our mission is to make people feel crazy confident in their messiest moments. And we really want to be the friend for them to sort of go on that sustainable and less stigmatized journey, basically.
I mean, how was it perceived when I guess you went and told your friends and your family, I'm going to start this kind of business?
So we were lucky because we were doing our masters. So our 17 male classmates, very tired about hearing about tampons.
Yeah.
By the time
I can imagine.
And then Tara did her dissertation on the business case because at the time Dollar Shave Club was super popular, and we're like, periods are cyclical, subscriptions are cyclical, perhaps this is it. And like looking at it and talking to people who have periods, it's like, I don't know when it's coming. It's very much a habit or a convenience driven purchase. And so that really influenced us from the beginning, that this was something we had to focus on for retail. And so we always had the aim of it being like mainstream brick and mortar, which when we had a lot of our competitors sort of started as Z2C and then had to try to switch over to going into retail, but that was our aim from the very beginning. And part of why we designed the products the way that they were, I sort of said to Tara, it's going to be a long time before we can afford a billboard. We need to make the product one. And so that's why they really stand out on shelf.
They definitely stand out on shelf because the period aisle is a weird one in the supermarket or the Boots or wherever you're shopping it. But it is like you don't like hanging around in the aisle. You kind of go and you get out. But actually this would make you hang out more in the aisle. They're cool. The first thing I noticed was the fact that it's an ice cream tub, and to be honest, I would not pick that up thinking it was a tampon.
Yeah.
So actually, if I walked around with that in the supermarket, nobody would be like, "Oh, she's holding tampons," because it is a bit taboo, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be, of course, but it's not in the conventional what you think it should be.
100%, and that's my favorite feedback that we get from mums that are buying for their daughters. Is she used to hide all her period care under the sink, but now she keeps it up.
Yeah.
And so it's the small ways that we're chipping away.
Definitely. So in the really early days, when you were kind of figuring out, I guess, the sourcing of the materials, how did you go about all of that?
Yeah, so Tara's my lovely bookworm. So she started with the FDA register, found all the manufacturers, and basically politely and persistently just booked them until they sent us out samples.
Okay.
And then we were able to share that with friends and try it ourselves and figure out who we would want to work with when we launched the business. So it was a lot of trial and error. And then eventually we went out and visited them and looked at the factories and all of that. So we had a sort of set business plan when we left school, but it took us a couple of years to sort of get the courage to actually launch the business. And actually a couple of our classmates were the ones that really encouraged it. This is who was so shy about all of this. And I remember Tara and I had lunch with him, and he took a tampon out of the thing and opened it in the restaurant, and it was just we have come so far with you.
Yeah.
And so we did a Kickstarter at the end of 2017 and raised £14,000, produced 6,000 of those bad girls, and then literally sold them into our local shops in Hackney and Islington, just do you want to buy a case of 12 of these? And so it was very, very side hustle for the first couple of years, just me and Tara trying to find product market fit and learning how to sort of grow up in retail, right? Because she was living in Clapton at the time, and so the man that owned the off license across the street was like, you come unload avocados, I'll talk to you about how I order from my distributor. And then when it was in there, he's like, people are looking at it, but everyone's confused why there's ice cream in the middle of the aisle. You need to put a sign or something here. So that's how we learned about point of sale.
Okay.
And so when we launched in Boots, sort of end of 2019, early 2020, we knew to ask for like shelf trays and things like that, because that's where you're able to communicate with the customer. So it's been one long journey of learning that was very trial and error.
Yeah, but actually, like, a lot of the founders that come on the podcast all say the same thing. Like, in the beginning, the kind of naivety is your superpower, because it allows you to learn and absorb and just like keep learning and make mistakes, but, you know, learn from them and then kind of keep going.
100%.
And so you've kind of found your manufacturer. You're selling. What happened when you sold out to all the kind of local shops?
So we just kept building. So we started with like the first 10, and then it was 30. We started going and doing like with Bristol Foods. Tara went out with a table and found like you'd have customers that would come in, and it's when you're learning about demographics of different shops. And so really lovely women were coming in, and they're like, oh no, I'm done with that. And she's like, well, you know, what kind of product would you actually use? And that's part of what went into us starting the sensitive bladder range, right? So there's always an opportunity if you're able to speak to customers to sort of understand that. And what we always wanted to do as a business was to meet our customers where they were. And it could be in their sustainability journey, or just in their product journey, or in their journey of like getting out of the shame and stigma, whatever it is. And so really understanding their need and being able to sort of answer for that.
Yeah. And I don't know enough about like period care really. So talk to me about like the big conglomerates and why their products aren't good for us, and the kind of benefits of having you.
So a conventional box of pads or bag of pads has the same amount of plastic as 4 plastic carrier bags. So it's plastic wrapped in plastic, which is why if you're using it, kind of feels like you're wearing a nappy. It's basically you are. And it's made from, like, the tampons are made from synthetic fibers. So this was a conversation that Tara and I had, actually, because I didn't know what an organic tampon was. I was like, what is that? It sounds like a scam. Like, why would my tampon need to be organic? And she's like, what you're using is not, you think it's cotton because it's bleached white, and
it feels kind of cottony.
But no, it's made from like rayon and other synthetic fibers. And what happens is when it's inside you, those fibers sort of shed outward, and then that can be left inside you, or it can cause tiny micro tears, which is what leads to like toxic shock syndrome. But cotton, organic cotton, sort of clings to itself when it gets wet, and so there's been a 0% incidence rate of toxic shock syndrome with those. So they're much better for you. They're sort of like farmed in a very clean way, so you don't have pesticides or any of those things being exposed to. And then for our pads are made with bamboo, which is a super sort of sustainable material because it grows really quickly. It doesn't require much water. The leaves fall and sort of self-fertilizes. And we use edge-grown bamboo, so we're not stealing any panda food. It's all extra. And then it's so good for sort of like busting carbon emissions. But from a user experience, it feels really lovely. It's soft and nice, but it's very absorbent because it holds 4 times its weight. And so when cotton gets wet, it sort of like it expands. When you have a pad, the bamboo sort of stays flat. So that's like, people love our pads because it's such a great user experience. It's such a different one compared to this very plastic pad that, like, you know, our customers have said they've had rashes or irritation because then you have that netting across the top that can like irritate your skin. So it's just, you use what you have because you don't know any better. And these market leaders control, like, the biggest company you can think of owns like 90% of market share, and so there just wasn't an alternative. And when you first get your period, or your period's coming up in school, you get like the free sample pack, or it's what your mom grew up using, and so you just use it as well. So it's really our mission is sort of to come in and really disrupt that so people understand the alternatives and the benefits of it.
And that's such a hard market to disrupt, I can imagine, because you're right, it's incredibly habitual.
Yeah.
Like, I totally just had the free starter pack at school. Yeah, that's what happened. The kind of big guys came in, and I remember they did like almost like a mini, it's like a talk on it. It wasn't very long. It was in like PSHE or whatever, and we were given kind of samples, and then my whole life it was that. So actually, is there a plan to kind of go into schools and do more of an educational piece on it?
So that takes resource, but that is a goal for us, is sort of like the break the cycle initiative that we want to do. Where we've been able to do some of that actually is partnering with sports. So last year we did a collaboration with the Nike Sports Club. They took us all up to St. George's Park, and we had 600 girl footballers from age 8 to 16, and just like talking to them about their periods and the menstrual cycle and period tracking for the older girls, and gave them like lots of samples, but just helping them understand not only their body but also what the menstrual cycle means. And so like, you're feeling amazing in your follicular phase, that's when you want to be training harder and trying new tricks, but in your luteal phase you want to sort of like do the bare minimum and just get through it, because your body's like going through it, and just the sort of like understanding what it is and what that means, they found to be so powerful. And then also alongside we had 600 coaches there, and talking to them and trying to get them, shake the stigma that they have, because obviously their players are looking up to them. That's the first sort of like port of call that they're going to, and them not treating it like it's this dirty word is really a powerful impression for them to make on their players. So we use avenues like that to sort of like talk to girls earlier, but also just being able to reach that audience at that age.
That's key, isn't it? Because when they're influenced at a young age, as we've said, it's habitual, so then they tend to kind of continue. So when you launched straight into kind of shops. You didn't have a D2C, right? Or did you have a D2C as well?
So we had as well. We've always been omni-channel, but it was very small, like fulfilled out of our shops. But when we got the Boots account, we were like, okay, great, we're a real business now. So we raised a seed round and hired our first 2 employees and closed that round February 2020. Of course, retail everything shuts down. A month later, there's like a 22,000 wait list to try to get on Boots.com because nothing's set up for e-commerce. So our Amazon sales went from like 0 to 7,000 pounds, which was so much for us at the time. But luckily, or unluckily,
thank God you had your Amazon shop front.
But then like COVID wasn't a real thing in the US, and we got pulled over there, and were able to sort of like build up and down the West Coast, in smaller health food shops there and smaller chains. So we got to 600 or 700 doors, and eventually went into Whole Foods. So we're full chain with Whole Foods and with Sprouts in the US.
Okay.
And then our sexual wellness line is in 800, 900 CVS stores around the uni towns. But eventually things opened back up here, and we continue to scale with Boots and Holland & Barrett. Superdrug came on shortly after that. And we really grew quite steadily with that set of stores. WH Smith Travel as well. That was our first national account, was WH Smith Travel. And just sort of grow steadily until we could prove ourselves and get the attention of grocery. And so last year was a massive year for us because we launched with Tesco and Sainsbury.
Amazing.
And then the beginning of this year, Tesco also took our sensitive bladder and sexual wellness lines, triple distribution. And so that's been a huge focus, because that's where 70% of people buy these products. So that's been...
Wow, so you scaled like incredibly quickly, really. Like, I know it might not think it from like day... I know. It's funny that, isn't it? Like the 10-year overnight success. Like it from the day that kind of initially the conversations were happening. But from what you just said, it all sounds like it happened. But obviously it didn't.
Yeah.
But what were some of like the biggest challenges in the early stages? Were there some massive mistakes you made where you wish you could have kind of gone back a bit? No, I wish we didn't do it that way.
Oh, I mean, we just... COVID, I always say we've like survived the worst macroeconomic crises of like the last, 50 years all happened between COVID and the cost of living crisis and the supply chain crisis. Like, we had stock stuck in the Suez Canal behind that big boat, if you can remember that.
Oh my God, it was all stuck.
Yeah, and then
so you had lots of delays.
You moved to train, and then train freight triples, and so it was just a lot of like learning how to pivot. And while we couldn't get into grocery, then we really scaled Amazon UK, and that's one of our massive. We're the number 2 product out of all of like feminine care.
Wow.
So yeah, we just had to learn to pivot, and it was a lot of, it was just a lot of, okay, that's not going to work. What are we going to do now? Because initially sort of our strategy was scale in the UK and EU, but then the combination of Brexit and COVID like made that impossible. So we had like a 600 store listing in the Netherlands that was basically gone overnight because we couldn't deliver within the window that we needed to deliver. That was completely out of our hands. And so we had to switch strategy to just like look at working with distributors that are able to come and pick up from our warehouse and handle everything, because we couldn't do anything more than that with a small team, and then transferred to sort of like focus on the US, where we were able to scale a bit more easily.
Are you bigger in the US or the UK?
So we're bigger in the with grocery, so it's a 60-40 split now.
Okay.
But we actually thought for a while that it would be the other way around. But then the US has had its own sort of trials and tribulations with mass, with Target and other places. So it's a lot of building flexibility into your plans and really watching what's happening in the market has been really key for us.
Yeah, definitely. Have you seen some of the big boys kind of come after you with different products that they've launched?
Yeah, I mean, we've outsourced, because it's so weird. Like, they have all the money, so they could really make a proper organic. It just costs more. It just costs more to do it. But they have economies of scale. But instead, they'll do something like a cotton core tampon. Which, what is the purpose of that? Yeah. Because what's touching you is still the synthetic, or just a cotton top sheet pad where the rest of the pad is plastic. So it goes down to our demographic, who we lovingly call the Gen Zennial, right? It's like our babes that are 18 to 34, and they do a lot of what they're doing sort of like value-based. They're very suspicious of corporate brands, rightfully so, because they're like, what have you been putting in?
But there's also a lot of greenwashing out there, so it's really hard to like decipher, that kind of stuff as well.
Exactly right. And so they're looking for brands that align with their values and with their aesthetic, and we're able to do that. So we just really focus on who we're making the products for, and not like I forget where the quote comes from, but Tara says all the time, you're more likely to die by suicide than murder as a business. So you should don't worry so much about the competition, worry about yourself and making sure that you're on track and sort of staying on brand and true to what your customers need. And so that's what we try to focus on.
Yeah. So your kind of marketing, your brand side versus the selling side?
Yeah, I mean, I get in on the selling side a bit, but I am the brand and marketing one. Tara is very focused on commercial and product, and then we come together. But we did all of this ourselves. Like, we taught ourselves Illustrator because we couldn't afford a designer. But we're just at the tail end of a brand refresh.
Cool.
An evolution, not a revolution. But basically, we designed the tampons, and then the next product was these are day and night pads, but we had a multi-pack as well that was 10 day, 5 night, and that was, we designed each product and the liners came, so it was like one by one. And when we went into, here's a mistake. When we went into Tesco, it was the first time we had to put them in their shelf-ready packaging. Yeah. It's like that boxes where you just rip off the top. And the lip was so high. If the lip's this high, all of the pads look exactly the same.
Oh gosh, yeah, you can't see what they are.
But no one ever used the SRPs before, so we were like, yeah, it's fine. So in the refresh, we brought it up. We've made this smaller, just like better user because we worked with an actual designer.
Okay.
An actual product designer, and just along the top, you have what the shape of the pad is and how many is in there, and like a scale that tells you what in terms of absorbency, an absorbency scale. So it makes the range much easier to navigate.
Yeah.
And we've added a couple of products to really cater to heavier flows because we're seeing so much around endometriosis and PCOS and just wanting to be able to support flows across the range.
Have you had to learn a lot about women's health as well along the journey, as well as like obviously being product led?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. That's part of what inspired some of these products, right? So even in that initial conversation, like Tara was teaching me about organic tampons, but someone had taught her, and it was actually a gay man on a photo shoot that told her about it. She's like, you can't be using those tampons, girl. Those are going to kill you. You need to use these. So it's, there's always a teaching moment. But now as we're going, just like, I knew about the menstrual cycle, but hadn't really thought about how that impacts you and what those symptoms mean. And so now I'm like a bit more forgiving on myself just to run a marathon. I'm telling everyone because I'm so proud of myself.
Oh my God, well done. Congrats. Which one did you run?
I ran the Brighton Marathon on Sunday.
Oh my God, how'd you find it?
I enjoyed it.
I love running.
Mile 20, I had an existential crisis probably. I was looking at my splits in my app and I'm like, this mile took me 24 minutes to run. And I did stop to use the bathroom, but still I was like...
Do you know what? You did it. I also hit a fat wall at 20 miles. It is like a thing. And it literally is a wall. Yeah. Like that wall is real. Like I literally saw the brick.
Like, why have I done this? Why did I sign up for this? But we pushed through in the end. I did it in 5 hours and 56 minutes.
Well done.
I wanted to do it under 6. And now, but I want to go and do a half now because I did the half in 2:45. But I'm like, I was saving stuff for the tank.
Okay.
I feel like I could do it under 2. And it now seems easy to me because I'm 26.
Do you know what? I think marathon is a different, like lots of people do half marathons. If you're quite fit, you can probably run out and do a half on no training.
Yeah.
You cannot go out and run a marathon on no training. It will literally you up. Like you won't walk the next day.
It was bad. No, we went to Brighton Beach House afterwards. Yeah. And there was this guy, his feet looked like he had leprosy. I'm like, sir, what? No, I woke up early and shout out to ChatGPT. I was like, what do I need to do to prep for this marathon? Give me a checklist. And I went through it and I greased myself up. I didn't have no chafing or anything.
Yeah, no, I didn't, to be fair, I didn't either. Yeah. But like the men that I saw that had bleeding nipples, like literally they were in tank tops and just like 2 little reds. And I was like, guys, get your nipple taped. Because we don't think about that because obviously we wear bras. Yeah. But for them, like the constant, so sore.
So it was tough. Yeah. People went through it. But yeah, I was, every muscle of my body was aching the next day. But like, I'm fine now. Yeah. I went for a nice 90-minute massage. Shout out to Massage in Marylebone.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm feeling good.
Good.
I'm taking my son for a 1 mile. He wants to do the mini marathon.
Oh.
So I'm like, let's see. We're going to go for a 1 mile run tomorrow, see how he does.
Bless him. That's so cute. Oh my God, how adorable. Yeah. Do you have a daughter as well, or is your other one?
I do. Simone, she's 4. She's the real boss of the household.
Is she?
Yeah.
She's sassy.
She's very excited. I'm taking her into the office on Wednesday. So she can hang out with the Flow ladies. That's how my team is referred to in my house. Okay. Because we're still an all-female team.
Is she she'll be taking over the empire one day?
Oh, we've been calling her the chairwoman of the board since she was born. She's always been a boss from day one, basically.
I love that. I love Miss Ass. That's brilliant.
She's amazing. Yeah.
Also, being a girl and she can learn so much from such a young age and go influence everyone and tell her friends, and that would be so key when she gets to that age.
It's influenced both of them, because I remember when Benji was 18, I have a little video and he's tapping away at his little VTech laptop and he's like, I'm checking my emails. And I'm like, this is the influence I've had. Oh my God. And Simone will walk around and she's like, no, I just have to take a meeting. Hold on. What do you need? I'm like, I cannot deal with these kids. But
oh my God, that's brilliant. They're going to be entrepreneurial, 100%. They'll have it in their blood, yeah. They'll want to do something different. Also, like, it's incredibly inspiring, isn't it? Like, watching your parents and your mum grow up and do that they'll be like, I want to be cool like mum. Like, my mum's cool. Also, you're so cool. I've got to get your shoes up because I need to show them on the camera. They literally say, boss lady. Like, sorry, that's the coolest pair of flats I've ever seen. I need a pair.
That's my nickname, is shoes in or shoes. So it's my favorite thing is when we're in a meeting with like an external partner and the team's like, yeah, shoes will do this or that, and they're like very confused, and I'm like, I'm very sorry, that's my nickname.
That's your nickname.
It's on my chain here.
Oh my God, I love.
So it's become my brand now.
Yeah. So speaking of brand, what is kind of your... So marketing, I'm not a marketer at all. I'm in sales in the day. Mm-hmm. And I find marketing really difficult. It's so hard because you have to influence, like, you know, consumer behaviour. And I think it's such a tricky one to try and get in the heads of customers and also make your brand stand out, but constantly also be the innovator. Mm. There's so many brands out there that do a lot of copying, you know, from other brands, but how do you innovate and stay ahead of the curve all the time?
So I think what's been really helpful and what I think customers appreciate is consistency and authenticity. And we spent the time early on really hammering out what's our mission, what's our vision, what's our values. And that has stuck with us, and we're not just like thinking of them and putting them on a wall somewhere, but we really live it. So it's like from the job description through to orientation, performance reviews. When we're dealing with a difficult customer, one of our values is kindness is queen, and we've just gone through a process of updating them because the team grew from, you know, it was like 4 of us when we first did them. The team's now 17.
Wow.
So we did a refresher on them, and I rewrote them. So now kindness is a courageous queen, because we found that showed up a lot of the time, especially internally, as politeness rather than like giving the feedback you need to give. And like feedback is a superpower. We are tough on the problem, soft on the person, and that softness is a method. So you don't have to look at it as being something that's weak or wrong. You can give someone feedback in a kind and respectful way.
How do you take feedback? Are you good with it?
I love feedback. And it's, I think as a founder, when the team was very small, we were all like very tight-knit. It was very flat. Everyone is doing everything. And that's something that Tara and I have had to think about as the team's grown, is you have, even though we still keep it as flat as we can do, there still is that sort of like power distance that's happening. And so, you know, newer hires aren't going to feel as comfortable. That's something that I challenge. We're doing like our performance evaluations now. And I challenge my head of marketing. I'm like, you give me feedback, great. I need you to be able to give Tara feedback in that same way. Because it's important for us to, you know, to touch grass and know what people really think. I don't need you just telling me flowery things all the time. I want to be constantly improving too. It's like why we built this business is we're all insecure overachievers. And we want to continue to grow and just make sure what we're doing is the best that it can be. But I think Tara and I have been really good about like acknowledging what our gaps are and hiring really incredible people to fill those gaps, and then I'm empowering them to do what they do, and just wanting to continue to be able to do that basically. And so having those voices and that expertise come in, it continues to give new ideas. But because we wrote those mission and vision values down, it grounds everyone in who we are as a brand.
Did you do that as a team thing?
Yeah. And so that helps us sort of like stay true to who we are while still being able to like expand. And I think we're just free to experiment. Like I say I'm like a sophisticated, awkward Black girl. And that is what's authentically me. That's how I show up to things. And people there's something that you can relate to in that, because we're all a bit awkward at times.
So awkward, yeah.
And instead of like being ashamed about it, just like enjoy it.
Yeah. And also, like, honestly, if everyone was normal, how boring would the world be?
Yeah.
Like, imagine a world of just, like, normal people. Like, I don't want to live in that.
So bland. Yeah.
So vanilla.
Yeah.
We don't want vanilla. We want double chocolate chips, caramel, sea salt.
Sea salt, caramel, yeah.
Like, literally, that's what we're after. So what's your kind of big plan with We Are Flow? Where do you want to be? You want to be, like, I'm assuming the number one.
Yeah, so our aim is, we're already the number one challenger brand.
Wow.
And so we want...
Who are your competitors in the space? Like, how many? Sorry, you need to name names. But how many are you kind of up against?
There's like 3 other challengers, but who we're really focused on are the big guys. And so it's the big 2 that you can imagine. And then the second biggest.
Yeah.
and then like a third. And so we're just sort of like chipping away there to continue to grow market share. But we want to get to sort of like a 10% market share is the bigger vision. And eventually like we think we'll like exit to like a strategic partner. But even then, I think Tara and I would want to stay on as like chief creative officers or whatever and continue to, just to come up with new products and continue.
Have you got any MPD that you can allude to? This episode won't be live until back end of this year, so you've got a bit of time if that's the case.
So we are in talks with one of our grocery partners to take on our sexual wellness range.
Okay.
And there's an arousal gel that we are working on.
Wow, how
that
cool.
would be fun because we want, like, pleasure is a good thing and we should be able to another stigmatize. Get you banned from socials. But it is something that that is important, and so we're working on that.
That one is like, have you seen the new Bridget Jones film?
Not yet, no.
It's brilliant. You've got to go see it. I love her. Oh, yeah. And there's this scene, and she's at the till, and the guy, one of the teachers of the school that her kids go to, and she's there buying about 10 bottles of lube. And the teacher's like, the teacher says, like, oh, you'll have a felt weekend, won't you, Mrs. I can't remember her name, isn't it? But like, and I'm like, oh, okay, 10 bottles is quite dramatic. Like, 10, what the fuck's going on there? Like, come on, who needs to...
Too much.
Do you know what I mean? Like, fair enough if you want to try each one, but like, it's a bit weird. Like, one's fine. So like, that is odd. But even if you had one, I would be mortified. I'd put it back. I'd be like, oh, I don't know. I'm just getting processed. Well, I don't know. But you're right, that one is a funny one, isn't it? So yeah, that's interesting. Taking on kind of that space as well.
Yeah. And
what about, have you got plans? Are you in, like, how could you bring this to life, like in pop-ups? Like, I think it's something that a lot of brands do, and something that I think is really great because it gives you a really big touch point with customers. And I think there should be, it's because it is so taboo, it should be like plastered everywhere. It's not, it shouldn't be.
Yeah. So I'm working on the marketing team. As I said, I'm the crazy ideas one. But I had to actually bring one of them to life in end of February. We partnered with Sleazy Pizza in February. I don't know if you've ever been there. Amazing pizza.
Yeah.
But if Flow was a pizza shop, it would be this place. Their tagline is the sauciest 12-inch of your life. Okay? So that's the vibe.
I love it.
And their branding's all pink and everything. But we had the resurrection of the condom.
Okay.
And I moderated a panel with Evie Plum, who's clearly the best on Instagram. And Scotty Unfamous, Sarah Scott. And we just had a conversation about condoms because condom use is as low as it's ever been. STIs are on the rise. It's the only form of contraception that protects from STIs and pregnancy. And it's so stigmatized. So we talk about it. We're trying to de-ick the condom. But we got to do this event in Sleazy Pizza, and I had been ranting about this since we went to MadFest, which is a massive marketing festival, a couple years ago, and I'm like, we need to make this happen. And then we made that happen. We worked with Full Fat PR agency, and they did an amazing job. So I love doing stuff like that. I definitely want to do more in real life. We always focus on festivals in the summer. I think it's a great way, like, if you forget your tampon or your pad and it comes on at a festival, there's nothing for you anywhere. You're always in the middle of nowhere. So we love to show up in moments like that and just like be a bit of a period hero.
Well, if you're going to Coachella, can I come?
Oh, I'm trying to get it to.
Yeah.
Well, so one day, yes.
Literally.
We can do a live podcast.
Yeah, it was my 30th next year, and I said to the girls, we're going to Coachella because I'm Zoe and it's going to be Zoechella, and you've all got to wear ginger wigs because I'm a redhead. So I was like, you can't come with your hair colour, you're all ginger, and we're going to Zoechella. So I just need to get my tickets, and then we're off to LA.
I love the vision.
Yeah.
Let me know.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. But that's ways that we can sort of like have that pop-up feel. We're working on it.
Yeah. You need like there's so much you can do, and you're right, it takes like so much takes resource, and you know, getting the marketing team to think in that way is also hard, and there's so many things. But do you think it's best to do lots of little things? So like whether it is like, you know, a small event and then another small event and then another small event and then maybe like, I don't know, another small event? Or do you think it's we're going to absolutely ham it, and here's a 200 grand budget, for example, and we're going to do such a big impact event, and we're going to get reach, we're going to get we're going to influencers, we're going to massive do it. What do you think has the best approach when it comes to marketing?
So I think I don't believe in death by 1,000 cuts. I'd much rather take the majority of the budget, so say like 70%, and do like something big, something splashy, and make sure that it's layered. So you have like the stunty thing, you have some kind of like we've done fly postering when we've had like a No More Period Dramas ad. So we won the Sky Footprint Fund a couple of years ago, won £1 million in ad spend.
Wow.
With a spoof on Bridgerton called No More Period Dramas. And so that was live, but then we did like a YouGov survey, and found out that 2 out of 4 Londoners had leaked in their partner's bed. So then we put that up across, and it was like catered to Hackney and to Islington, and just put up those fly posters. And then we got a giant van, kind of like led by donkeys, and asked our community to share their period dramas. And we picked the ones we thought were funniest and put on this bright pink truck that rode around central London.
Okay, amazing.
Period dramas, and then they got a year of period care for their troubles. We had a window in Whole Foods on Kensington High Road with a giant tampon tub and Laura, my senior brand manager, brought my dream to life because this is all I ever wanted was a giant tampon tub. And then we went and did street interviews. I did sort of like the educational one, asking people about period facts. And then we took G.K. Barry and Charlie Marlowe onto Carnaby Street.
Wow.
They had men showing us how they would insert tampons with our tampon microphone. It was just so ridiculous, and we still probably get 50 likes a week on TikTok from those videos.
Yeah.
How many years later? So it's but having that sort of layered approach makes what you're doing feel much bigger, and all those extra things outside the ad was a $50K spend.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be tons of money, but if you do it in a very intentional, sort of targeted way, it can feel, and then of course we amplified everything on social, so that's always the key. So I'd rather do something like that, and then you do smaller things throughout the year, but you do want to sort of do that big thing where you can draw attention, and it's much better to have sort of layers across different channels and things, rather than, I wouldn't say spend something on just like a big billboard campaign, for instance, and that's the only thing.
Yeah, you need to layer it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I think that's really the key is a little marketing sandwich.
Yeah,
multi-layer sandwich. That's how I would approach it.
Yeah, I agree. I think taking the 70% spend, layering it, and then I totally agree with you. I think it kind of can potentially get washed under the water if you're not doing. Yeah. And when it comes to investments, obviously you did your seed round at the beginning. Where are you guys at now with it? Have you kind of got lots of external partners, or is it still primarily?
We're getting ready to do an institutional raise in the next couple of months, but we have been angel backed up to now, and we have incredible angels, like everything from operators, so like the CEO of Rude Health, who was the former CEO of Method UK, the former CEO of Charlotte Tilbury, is an incredible advisor for us. And then we have like sort of like the financy people who can advise and sort of help us prepare for future exits. We have who we lovingly call our Bane Brains, who all have their expertise in like consumer markets and M&A and all these different things that are able to like advise us and sort of give us their global view on what's happening, both in the UK and US market, and then sort of like, wider global market. And all of that's just really helpful when we're setting strategy and figuring out how we need to pivot as a business, etc. So that's been really helpful up to now. But yes, hopefully we'll have an institutional partner that will just help us scale and give me an actual marketing budget, because I've never really had a proper one up to now. We've just poured everything into sort of like sales, OPEX, just to support the retail listings.
Yeah. But also that's a massive testament to like you guys then, because imagine what your brand would be if you did have the millions. Like you've done what you've done with little budget, but my God, world domination is coming. It's en route.
Humans of the empire, rise up.
Yes, I like that. And when it comes to kind of the UK versus the US business, is this something that you want to do? Obviously the US is like a beast of a kind of area to even conquer. I guess you've got to treat every state as a country probably in terms of like localizing and also manufacturing and God knows what, supply chain, etc. Is there a particular place you want to put your focus and why?
So for the UK, we want to be like a household name, like an Innocent. So when you think about period care, you think about Flo. In the US, we recognize it's a smaller slice of a much larger pie. So there's lots of sort of growth to be had there, but we're being sensible. There, it's sort of like we want to be a cult brand. Who your favorite person's favorite period care company is more the ambition there, because you could just set money on fire in terms of marketing and all of that. So it's much more of a social first and wanting to sort of grow in the green channel and then expand from there. But there's a lot more patience that we have with that, because we just know it's massive and you need a lot of money to sort of like go quickly in the US.
Are you going back and forth quite a lot?
Yeah. I was just there in March in LA and in Austin for Expo West. Is this massive.
Yeah, I've been to Expo West. It's cool. I love it. So fun.
Big. Yeah. We went
in Anaheim.
Yeah. So we go there every year, and we had a booth the first couple of years, which is like a bed for EXO, and then the bathroom for Flo, which this year everyone was asking for us for it. But I spoke on a panel this year and said the first ever panel on sexual wellness and hormonal health, and it was packed out.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was over lunchtime as well, so they were like, we don't know how this is gonna go.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had to kick people out of the room to start the next session. So I think,
wow.
Yeah.
There is so much appetite for it. It's just making it available and making it like there and in people's faces and accessible.
Absolutely.
And less taboo, because it is frustratingly still a bit like that, which is not fair.
Yeah. But we're breaking it.
You are breaking it.
One tampon at a time.
One tampon at a time. And team, talk to me a bit about your team. How have you managed kind of the hiring process? Obviously, like it's for a lot of the founders that I speak to, it's their baby, and sometimes bringing people in is really difficult, and delegating and stuff. How have you found that process?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been the roving founder. Tara's always been our CEO. I started off as COO, set up the back office bits. Then we hired in a professional COO, Mary, it's incredible. And then I moved to Chief People Officer, and my focus was really building out our recruitment process, our benefits, all of those things, because we were preparing for the team to grow. And then I moved to sort of like run the marketing department as and build it out as a chief brand officer. But before this, I was a director of diversity and inclusion at a large foundation. So, and I worked in HR. This is kind of my jam. And so I learned from a lot of the challenges that we had there. It's much easier to sort of build a culture from scratch than try to change one that's happened by default over 30 or 40 years, which is why we spent that time doing all that sort of visioning work in the beginning. And so we just really designed a process. There's like a very large spreadsheet that we have where, you have the candidate information, but before we start talking to people or anything, I have everyone set the criteria for each stage of the interview. So the screening one is really to sort of like test technical skill, but we do ask a question around inclusion and culture because that's something that's really important to us as a company. The second one is a behavioral panel, and so that's where you're trying to understand how do they handle failure, how do they, like, we're a hybrid team, so how do they keep themselves motivated when you have to work from home by yourself, etc. And then there's a task that they'll have to do that's like relevant to the role, and the final stage is the meeting with Tara and I, and that's so they can ask any questions. They've spent 3 stages being grilled, now it's time for them to grill us. But just making sure if there's any questions or doubts that they're able to talk through those things with us. And that process has worked really well for us because I think it tests all levels. But I always say to the team, the process ends at probation, and there's certain things that you just can't test for in interview. It is inherently sort of like a flawed tool of recruitment, but it is what it is, the best that we have to work with. And so, there's been some cases where it's like, this isn't a fit, because a lot of what you might see about the brand is lots of fun, but we are all working very hard. People think the team is much bigger than it is, but for a really long time, it was only 8 or 9 of us. And so and also it's a lot of uncertainty working at a startup. And so in your head, you might be like, yeah, I think I'd really enjoy a startup, but maybe you enjoy the like stability of being at like a corporate. Maybe you want a medium-sized corporate rather than a large corporate is more your speed, and it's just very different if you need structure. Here you're coming in and we have grown and obviously set lots of structures and things in place, but there's still an element of being able to come in and be a really strong individual contributor. That's not for everyone, and so every process sort of teaches us something new, but I have sort of come out of the weeds of that, but sort of trusting the process. And our sales, our commercial VP, Caroline, calls me her people whisperer. So I am that person on the team where it's like, if there's some kind of like people management issue or challenge, they come and talk to me about it. And so I'm happy to continue to play that role.
Definitely. I think, people is such a big thing, isn't it? Because if you don't have the right people in your business, it's really hard to like grow it to where you want it to be.
Yeah.
And the mindset, corporate versus a bit more entrepreneurial, and that kind of like fight or flight startup spirit that you need is really key. Yeah. And periods? We are talking about periods, but that's not the question I was going to say. Tampons versus pads. What's better? What's why?
So there's no better. It's personal preference, which is why we have the products that we have, is so you can choose what works for your flow. So I can speak for myself. It's actually period pants, which we launched. We did a collab with the Netflix show Sex Education 4 years ago, but was just so perfectly aligned. Like their tagline was "Messy is normal," and we're like, "For life's messiest moments." And so we did a co-branded product line with them and did these period pants. And then our my senior brand manager Laura joined and did a video that our bum went viral. And so they all sold out. But period pants are revolutionary, I think. You just wear them to bed. You're not faffing about with a pad moving anywhere. So I wear those basically for my whole period.
Do you still do that line?
Yeah, so we did ones that just were purely branded, because those were like Sex Education X Flow.
Interesting.
Now we just have our Flow.
I need to get some of that.
Pants. So they're in Holland & Barrett. I think they're on promo right now.
Okay.
But also on our website as well. And so I use those definitely at night, or like when your period's meant to show up but you don't know when it is. It's great because if you're wearing those and it comes, it's fine.
You're safe.
On heavy days, I will use tampons just because, it's just very heavy and we gotta control that. And then on lighter days, like I'll use like a liner or a day pad, and everyone's flow is different. So what we were hearing from a lot of our communities, they needed heavier, and we had members on our team who have PCOS or endo and weren't able to use some of our products because they didn't have the absorbency they needed. So we've just put out an ultra long night pad that's about this long, And we have a super big pack of tampons that's coming out in June. That's a super and super plus. And so we just want to have that option. Like our period pants go from small to 3XL, so really size inclusive as well. So you have something for everyone. So it's not better or best. I can say sort of statistically, there's a real socioeconomic divide when it comes to tampons. And so they're really only used in Europe, the UK, US, and Canada. US, Canada, UK prefer an applicator tampon, which is what you're holding. But we also make a very cute miniature version, a non-applicator, and that's actually what I prefer, and that's very popular in Europe. And everywhere else in the world, it's really pads and liners. So it's like, of the global market, it's like 70 or 80% is pads and liners. Yeah.
And that's shocking when you think about it, like the plastic that's going into the world circulation, but also like the microplastics in our bodies. Like, come on. No.
Not good.
No good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Susan, for coming on. It's been like fascinating, like wow, like so much to learn, and actually just such an insane product. And everybody out there, get your organic tampons today. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Zoe. This was brilliant.